Hi everyone, welcome to the cuEngage Cloud session with our ITMS Manager, Andy Higgs. My name is Neil Becker and I'm an IT Services Engineer here at Wellington IT. There'll be a wee opportunity to ask questions at the end, so I can ask you all to keep your mics muted and pop any questions into the chat bar in the meantime. In the session, Andy will cover the benefits of cloud solutions for a credit union, including what the future of cloud holds. So for now, I will pass you over to Andy to start the session. Thanks.
Morning everybody and welcome. I hope not to keep you too long, but this is a bit of a dive into the cloud, how our model came around, what we're doing with it, how we roll it out, and then a bit about what our future holds and how we're going to look to move people on into the future and full cloud hosting for all of your services. So the what and the why of the private cloud. So I understand there's probably a mix of people out there that understand a wee bit about networking and servers and PCs and data centers and networking and everything. So just wanted to give a quick breakdown of kind of what we have, what a private cloud means and how it's set up. So a few years ago, we partnered with a company called Interaxon, who are a Dublin-based cloud data center environment hosting company, and they provide platforms for companies like ourselves to deploy server racks and our own hardware into their data centers to enable us to provide services not just to a single site but to multiple sites. We've also partnered with the likes of Strancom for our MPLS links to provide great connectivity into the data centers. And basically what we have in there is a number of racks spread across their two sites. So both data centers are located in Dublin, up near the Red Cow roundabout. And basically we have two cabinets currently set up in our Dub 1 facility and one cabinet in our Dub 2 facility. So if you were looking at these, basically you see floor to ceiling servers, switches, firewalls, routers, load balancers, all connected together to provide the platform for us to enable the likes of yourselves to host your Scion or other services in the cloud. So typically what we have set up then in there is a dual set of servers that will have the Scion servers and services assigned to them. These will be siloed off and they will then be made available to a single site so that only you can access them. So that's kind of a breakdown of how the cloud is set up. So it's not disappearing off somewhere where we've got no control or no visibility of it. It's a service just down the road from where we are in our Dublin office that our engineers regularly attend to monitor and maintain the hardware that we have in there. So why did we decide to go down this route? Basically, we wanted to serve our customers better. We wanted to move the Scion environment into a secure location where we could provide better monitoring, better support, and increase the productivity, speed, and resilience of the services that you have. We wanted to make sure that we could future-proof the hardware so that the worry and the stress of ensuring that the hardware is up to date and on the latest versions and patched and replaced in a timely fashion all came down to ourselves. We wanted to remove that bit of grey area that comes between the Scion application and any third-party ITMS that we would have out there, so that we knew exactly what we were looking after and they knew exactly what they were after. Basically, with us taking the Scion services, the DB, the app server, and CU Insight, and putting them onto our data center environment means that we know that we control all of that, which then makes it easier for your ITMS to come in, because all they need to do is look after your internal network, i.e. the PCs, the printers, the networking, and make sure you've got connectivity up to the data center. They don't need to worry about restarting your machines locally because it's not going to affect your banking system. They don't need to worry about switching off PCs or turning off routers or firewalls because none of that will affect what's happening on Scion in the cloud. By moving into the cloud as well, what we're looking to do is centralize everything together. We've got some customers that are running debit cards and EFTs, and the current accounts are now all coming to the fore. And all this needs that 24/7 engagement between your Scion servers and our shared services environment and the likes of FIS. By moving them into the cloud, should you have a problem on site, it's not going to affect your online users. It's not going to affect the people who are accessing your system remotely and working on their transactions, no matter what's happening in the credit union branch itself. So what we're providing is sustainability. We're providing increased security and more resilience for the systems that you have in place at the moment. So how did we go about this? You know, it wasn't something that we looked at overnight and went, here, let's throw a bunch of servers up into the data center, get a bit of an MPLS connection and then see how it goes. No, we looked at what we would need. We looked at the scope of the number of virtual machines that a credit union would tend to have. We looked at the size that the databases are going to be, what they would expand to over a certain period of time, so that we could spec out and work out the exact resource that we required. So then we built machines that would give us enough resource available to host up to 6 credit unions currently on them, with an eye on only deploying 5. So we've got additional resource there, we've got additional growth, and we've got scalability for the credit unions who are assigned to those machines. We looked at the networking. It was important to us that if we have multiple credit union branches connecting into dual servers that we have located in the data center, that they're only speaking to the environment that we've created for them. So to do that, we looked at complex VLANs, so virtual local networks. We looked at siloing each credit union's data, setting up the virtual network and the firewall rules to ensure that only users and members from those branches can access the data in their single silo. We work with our partner Strencom to ensure that we have the MPLS connections in place. Now, this is our preferred method of connectivity because it provides resilience, it provides less lag, it provides faster speeds and less contention. Running over broadband or running over VPNs where it is possible, it's not something we like to do because you're in contention with other users around. If you're putting a high use of data across your network, it can cause issues and have problems with speed and connectivity. And then we looked at what we would need to do on our cycle. So if we're putting in machines, we need to replace, we need to update, we need to continue to improve the systems we have in. Currently, we're looking at our firewalls and updating the information on there and providing additional layers of security. We're looking at additional switches. We're moving from 10 gig to 100 gig switches and trying to improve our connectivity into there as well. So it's a constant revolving piece of continued improvement so that we're ensuring anybody who's connecting into our private cloud is getting the best solution and the best speeds and the best resilience that's possible. So the process, the why for a cloud model, okay? So we want better quality of service. We want to make sure that as a credit union, you're able to run your services, your reports, your updating of information a lot quicker. We want to make sure we're minimizing the amount of downtime we have. And we want to also make sure that multi-sited credit unions don't have a single point of failure, okay? Obviously, current local setups with a server at a main office, should there be a power outage in the main office, it takes out all of the other sub-sites as well. So we're moving into the cloud environment and providing access over MPLS across every site. It doesn't matter if you have a single point of failure within your business, all the other sub-sites still have that ability to connect to the data center to continue to run the Cyan platform. We also wanted to make sure there's flexibility, okay? Obviously, as a credit union grows, or as you've seen over the last couple of years, TOEs happen, we want to make sure there's space and resource available for increasing the database size and growing with yourselves. As your credit union grows, your environment's going to grow as well. So we want to make sure that you've got the right amount of resource in there. So we carefully monitor to make sure, you know, there's the right memory allocation. How are we getting that right? You know, is it maxing out or do we need to add more? And we're constantly adjusting that. We're looking at the right number of CPUs to make sure that the processing times are kept to a minimum. making sure that the reports are running nice and quickly. And we have that flexibility in the data center. And by managing it through the vCenter we have set up, we're able to do this all from a single pane of glass. So it makes that whole support piece as well a lot easier for us. Okay. Obviously, we've got enhanced speed and resilience because we are monitoring it so closely. We can ensure that the system is running as fast and as reliable as possible. So a little bit about our migration process. Obviously, I've gone through kind of how why we've got the system up there. But it's obviously it's a big change and a big upheaval to move from your on-prem into the cloud. Now, this is something that we plan out rigidly to make sure that we've got the process in place. There will be multiple meetings set up with any credit union moving across. We'll discuss the migration plan and the migration process, the go live dates, the testing dates. We'll run through all this with you until everybody's happy that the dates are okay, that the data is fine, and that we're not missing anything out. So how do we set it up? So step one is the setup and configuration. We'll create the environment. We create a blank sign-on database. We create a new app server and then a new CU Insight server. We'll configure the networking. We'll set up the VLAN. We'll create the connectivity between your main site and our data center and any sub-sites that you want to do testing from. We'll then run through a test deployment. So we will take the DR4 data that you currently have in the data center, and we restore this to the database in the data center. We then run a series of tests to ensure that the data is consistent. And then by adding on certain IPs and distributing a new app server icon, we can then give access to certain users, printers and machines to the test data, so that you can run testing on reporting and user access and updating of accounts. So we have a whole list of tests that we would like to go through or we can recommend, and we can pass this on to you to ensure that you are dotting the I's and crossing the T's, as Tui like to say, so that you have ticked off all the bits that you're happy with. Now, this isn't a full list. You're free to put whatever testing on it that you want, and we'll work very closely with you on this stage to make sure that any issues or any problems that are coming up are mitigated or resolved before we go to the live data transmission. So obviously the testing from the credit union, from yourselves, like until you're happy, we won't move to the next step. So once the testing's been complete and we're looking then to move forward to the go live piece, you know, this is obviously a time where we are going to have to take the system down for a time. Up until this point, there will be zero downtime for yourselves on site. So we aren't affecting anything that's going on-prem. This can take a number of weeks to get up to the go live date. We normally see the start to finish as being around a 4-week process. So the first week is the setup, the second week is the setting up of the testing and the import of the data. The third week is the testing for yourselves, and then the last week is the preparation and the actual migration for the go live. So what we've done in the past and what we tend to do is we'll find a day when you're closed. So it's normally going to be a Saturday, Sunday, so it's going to be a weekend migration. We will look to close off the database around lunchtime on a Saturday or later, depending on your opening hours. And we will run a series of reports with yourselves. At that point, we'll stop the database and we'll start the DR4 restore. Now, this takes up to around 4 hours to complete. After that data has been restored, we bring the system up live again. We give you access onto it to compare the reports to make sure that the data is consistent, and then it's pretty much switched over. So your live database will go from on-prem into the cloud. At that point, it's all connected up to EFTs, the member side, see you online, see your mobile. It'll all be going through the new system. Obviously, there'll be some testing you'll want to carry out whilst we're going through this section, and you want to make sure that you're happy with the data before you open your doors on the Monday or the Tuesday, depending, to your members. Obviously, on the go live date, we will have a member of the team available to you on site. We realise this is an important time, an important change to what's happening in your credit union. So having somebody on site and somebody available in case there's any problems is key to ensure that we get this over the line. Now, in the past migrations, we haven't seen very many problems, very many issues, and as some of the sites will say, they're actually able to open their doors earlier than expected, having told their members that it would be an 11 o'clock opening. They were actually opened for the 10 o'clock of the normal opening hours. So what are the benefits? Obviously, we're not doing this just for the sake of it. We want to make sure that there's benefits and there's some enhanced features, functionality, and stuff that you're going to get from the private cloud. So the first of all is ease of use. From a credit union's point of view, you don't have to worry about anything locally anymore. Your PCs, printers, and everything will all sit on-prem, and all you need to do is bring that connectivity up to us. You'll still operate SAR exactly the same way. It'll still run exactly the same way, and you'll find reporting and other elements will run a lot quicker. For updates, it makes it a lot easier for us. We're able to update the platform in an environment that we control. Obviously, we have you load balanced across 2 different servers, so we're able to update one server, ensure that it's working okay, test it, make sure the update's taken, and then flip across to the other one, and then upgrade the secondary server on its own timescale, all with minimal disruption to you. Everything will be agreed in advance, but it enables it and simplifies this process for us. We'll have direct support. SIL support won't change, but actual support of the database and the environment and optimization and how we control it and how we look after everything, that is now direct from us. We don't have to worry about coming through third-party firewalls. We don't have to worry about access or opening up firewall ports. Everything's in a location that we control, and we're able to monitor and maintain a lot easier. The local feeder and watering of servers. So this is a very IT term and phrase that's used. So feeding and watering of servers means the power, the electricity, the UPS, the air conditioning, the networking, all of those elements. You know, we take care of all of that. You don't have to worry about having a secure room with air conditioning in it anymore to make sure that your server is kept cool at all time and is secure. We take care of all of that. We make sure within the data center we've got redundant power. We've got redundant networking. We rigorously check all this stuff. There's ongoing support and maintenance that happens from the team at Interexon to make sure that the systems, the servers, the networking, the environment is all kept powered and cooled and networked constantly. We look after the hardware renewal. So there's no real surprise cost for you anymore. So you don't have to start considering on year 4, are we going to upgrade our server? What do we have to upgrade? What's going to change? Are we moving to the cloud for our email? Are we changing this around? Do we need a bigger server? Have we got the? We take all those headaches away. We'll be upgrading the hardware on a cycle when the warranty is near running out, and we'll upgrade it over a phased period of time, and you won't even notice what's happening. And I said there'll be no surprise costs. No more of this, oh, the server is blown up, or the hardware's gone, or we need to get an additional network switch, or we need to get additional hardware in to make it run quicker. We need more memory. No, we take care of all of that. If the server or the system's running low on resource, we'll get new resource. We'll put more resource into it. You don't have to worry or be concerned about how the machines are being upgraded in the data center, as we take care of all of that. And we reduce the on-prem footprint for yourselves. So instead of having a large server now that's powering your ScionDB, your app server, your CU Insight, your Barstorm if you have it virtualized, potentially your email, your Active Directory, your file and print, utility server, your Sage or your Thesaurus or your CFast, your OpenVPN, and a plethora of other different machines. You need a machine that's a lot smaller, that's going to look after only the things that are key within your business. And we've seen a reduction in costs on some of the credit unions that have moved into our cloud of up to 40% of what they've been spending, feeding and watering, hardware renewals, and the other elements that come along with it. So security, obviously top of the list. Whenever you guys have the on-prem servers for yourselves, You know they're in a secure room that's locked or coded. You know that you've got the keys to the front door of the credit union, and you know that the security is all in place. So there is obviously a concern that security is one of the highest priorities for us. So we base the information across 2 secure data center locations. As I said before, both housed with Interexon, so we use their DUB1 and DUB2 facility. They have then controlled access, 24/7 surveillance. So to gain access into our data center, you can't just drive up to the front gates. You have to actually put a request in to ourselves first for us to allow access to come into it. We have a controlled list of users who are able to access our data centers. We have a list of key holders within there. And whenever you turn up on site, you must produce a form of photographic ID. Okay, that's just to get into the building. Once you're in the building, you then have a key card that will only get you into certain elements. So there's no wandering around going into different locations to look at the fancy server racks. No, you can only get into the certain areas of the building that you've got access to that enables you to control the machines that you have located within them. Authorized personnel only. So that means that we can allow and do and have had at times had to bring accompanied engineers into the site. Obviously for maintenance that may need to happen from Dell, if there's parts that need swapped out or there's stuff that needs to be updated. The guys at Interexon only have control over the networking. They don't have access to our cabinets. They only have access to be able to look at and see and provide support if we request it. So everything's, as I said, is security ID checked. Initially, when you go along, you need to provide a passport or details of where you live. And then on every reoccurrence, you need to provide a photographic ID to enable you to be able to get into the building. We have registered key holders. Only certain people will have access to the keys, and that's just to get into the cabinet. So you may be able to get into the location where the servers are stored, but you won't be able to get into the cabinets to do anything with them. And we can provide that temporary access, as I said, if need be. So the physical security isn't just the only thing that we look at. Obviously, we've got the enhanced security that we need in place to make sure that we can't be breached from the outside. Now, we carry out pen tests and are currently in the process of organizing an updated pen test on our cloud environment. We have enhanced firewalls with IPS and IDA, so intrusion protection, intrusion prevention. We have the VLANs, as I noted to before, set up across the network to ensure that we are siloing off the information so people only have access to the things they're allowed access to. And this is all rigorously tested and rigorously checked before it's deployed and made live for anybody. So what infrastructure do we have? So obviously, we don't want a single point of failure here. So we have dual servers put in place. These are identical. They're machines made up of around 48 terabytes of storage. We have over 0.5 terabyte of memory, so 512 gigabits of memory. We have dual processors. We have redundant networking. We have 16 isolated network sockets so that we can ensure that every site or every instance on the machine has its own access and isn't working off a virtual network or a virtual switch that can be built in there. We have dual clustered firewalls, so in the event of a failure, if the primary fails, it will flip over to the secondary. And we do the same with the switching and networking as well to make sure that we remove any single points of failure for anybody. We've redundant power, not just on the servers, but for the site. So we have an A and a B feed that goes into our data center, and servers will be spread across the A and the B feed. Now, both the A and the B feed will have their own UPSs, and we recently went through an exercise with the team at Interexon where they upgraded their UPSs to a much larger capacity to ensure that they can increase the amount of uptime provided should they have a power event at the site. Now, should they have a power event in the DUB1 facility, we can flip you over to the DUB2 facility to ensure that any work that needs to happen in DUB1 or anything that might impact the running of the system and the services in DUB1 aren't affected. Between the sites, we have what's called dark fiber. So you've got your normal fiber that would come into your offices that you might run copper for the last mile that would go back to your telephone exchange. And from there, then the fiber optic goes through the system, okay? But that can obviously be dug up or it can be accessed from outside of your business. What dark fiber is, it's a 100 gigabit connection between the two data centers. It runs literally between the two data centers. There's no breakout, there's no connectivity outside it. It's in a secure container and goes, I think it's 10 feet under the ground between the two sites, so that there's no way that anybody can access the information that's going across it. The redundant networking I've covered. And then we have full 24/7 support from the team in Interexon, where they will provide hands and eyes under our instruction as to what's needed. And at times we've had to call them in should there be an issue or a warning light coming on to give us an update, or just to be the first line of support should we start to see any problems or any issues. So now I just want to run a short video for you all, just about ourselves and our partners in Interexon and Straincom. Wellington IT are a software provider to credit unions in Ireland and the UK. We're passionate about what we do. We have a whole host of knowledge and experience in this sector and have been working along with the credit unions and some of our other suppliers for many years. Wellington IT are the only provider in Ireland to credit unions that have both the core financial system and a fully managed ITMS service. At the organisational level, we require a full, reliant connection to all of our sites and to our data centre. As part of this, we've partnered with Straincom to provide a secure, reliable and efficient link. The benefits of the partnership between Interaction, Straincom and Wellington IT enables us to get a foothold in the market, along with reliability, speed and efficiency provided by our two partners.
Straincom was established about 20 years ago, and we provide three main things: managed wide area and internet connectivity, security services, and hosted applications for our customers across Ireland and the UK. Straincom has been hosting our core infrastructure in a number of the Interaction data centers in Dublin for probably 15 years now. And we have a great relationship with all the team here in Interaction, and you know, they're very core to what we do. I suppose speed, reliability, and security are the three things that Interaction bring to the party for us. The future is great. We're growing rapidly. We're expanding every year, new services that complement the ones we already have, and we're adding customers like Wellington and growing those relationships.
So that brings us on to the future of cloud. Obviously, we've talked about where we currently are, how we currently sit with what we're developing. Now I want to quickly discuss where we see this going. Over the next 4 or 5 years, we're expecting to see more companies engaging in cloud options and opportunities, and predicting by 2025 that the on-prem or on-premise footprint, there won't be any on-prem servers anymore. Everything will be a cloud-based solution. So what does the future hold for Scion? So we're constantly looking at Scion and developing it, which is why one of the reasons we moved into the private cloud. We've partnered with Dell, and we're looking at a system called VxRail, which they currently provide to a lot of cloud providers. The beauty of the VxRail system will enable us to grow and scale as our customer wants and needs grow as well. We're also in discussions with the team at Oracle about potentially moving into the Oracle cloud, and how that will look, and how our partners and our customers, i.e. yourselves, will integrate and interact with any data or information we put up there. Obviously, with us moving and developing Scion and moving it away from the on-premise environment, that leaves you with a server there that's potentially running your email, your files and folders, and other cloud services that you have. What we're trying to do at Wellington IT at the moment is move people to 365. That changes your email solution. Email solution suddenly is no longer an on-prem idea. It's redundant, it's got backup, and it's fully accessible 24/7 in Microsoft Cloud Service. Team with that, we're looking at files and folders, how we can utilize Teams, how we use SharePoint, how we can use OneDrive, and how best to utilize those so that we can put a better structure in place so that you have 24/7 access to your files and your information there. With the likes of Azure AD Sync, we're looking to try and remove the last piece of the puzzle, which is the Active Directory. So for those of you who are unaware, Active Directory is the system that runs on your domain, that runs on your local network, that provides your authentication for logging into the network and provides your security. Currently, Azure AD cannot run as a sole AD piece from the cloud due to some of the elements around it, mainly around the group policies for pushing out the likes of password updates and all of that side of it. So we're looking at working with a company called Jump Cloud that can provide this type of solution for us. The idea being that down the line within the next 12 to 18 months, we can actually remove that footprint and remove that reliance for any hardware, server hardware based within the credit union, which then makes your BCP and your disaster recovery options a lot easier. Should you have a problem and everything's sitting in the cloud, if there's a problem with your site, all you need to do is provide computers and an internet access from another location, and you can open shop again. So we're doing a lot with other cloud services as well, and there's a lot of other cloud services and suppliers that are changing their offering at the moment. With the likes of web filtering, we're looking to move that to the cloud. Mail filtering now is already in the cloud and has been for a while, but accounts packages like Sage, they're now starting to provide a cloud offering. And it's all aimed towards this on-prem, no on-prem footprint, aiming towards 2025, aiming towards better BCP and DR options for yourselves as a credit union and anybody moving into that cloud option. So we see the future as something very bright. We see it as something that we want to engage with now at an early level so that we're not playing catch up with it down the line. We want to make sure that we can put yourselves as credit unions in the best position to access your data, provide your users and your members with a resilient service that's accessible 24/7 with the likes of the mobile app and CU mobile and the web. People are making transactions and people are applying for loans and people are doing things at some of the strangest hours of the day. We want to make sure that they've always got access to that. Okay. So that's it from me. I hope that was an interesting dive into kind of why, how, and what we're doing with our private cloud environment. And I hope you took a lot away from it. I'm happy now to answer any questions that there might be, Emma, but also if anybody wants to reach out, if you want to get a bit more information, I will be speaking to some people this week and next week. But if there's more information you need, I'm happy to have a chat with you one-to-one at any point.
Thanks for that, Andy. We do have some questions from Kieran, and as I say, just keep popping any questions you have into the chat bar, or as Andy says, reach out to him. So the first question is, what's the update model that is in place? How are notifications sent? Or maybe you want to answer that one at a time, actually. What is the update model that is in place?
So obviously we get all of our servers on a 5-year basis. So from the hardware update side, every 5 years we will be replacing the hardware. Now this will be looked at year 4, and when we move to if we move to the VxRail system, that is a continual cycle that happens there. And we actually run as a rent per machine basis with the likes of Dell, so they are constantly upgrading the hardware for us. If you're talking about the process for updating the virtual machines and the software and the operating system on it, this will be looked at quarterly. So it'll be quarterly updates that will be pushed out to the ESX servers, quarterly updates for YUM updates, and the actual Scion DB updates. They will be managed and monitored by the development team. Obviously, we can't go pushing out updates without the okay from those guys first. If we push something out and break it, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of very unhappy members, and I don't like getting shouted at that much. So yes, they will still manage those updates directly, but the actual environment, i.e. the hardware and the operating system that it sits on, we will be managing that on a quarterly basis.
Thanks for that, Andy. How are notifications sent?
Depends on the notifications. Is this support notifications, or is this notifications to members and end users? Everything within Scion notified are automatic. We use vCenter ourselves to monitor the environment and keep an eye on it. We have the likes of Zabbix and Nagios checks set up on the system as well, and it'll all be monitored within the ITMS team and the shared services team to ensure that we've got the stability and that we are optimizing the system correctly.
Thanks. And then how are updates tested and verified by individual credit unions before updates are applied?
So that's something we can discuss with you. Obviously, updating the environment, as I alluded to it earlier, we will update the secondary server first so we can bring it up and test it and make sure that it's working okay before we flip and move on to the primary server. If it's a Scion upgrade, then that goes through a rigorous testing process within Wellington IT through the development team. I can get you more information on that if it's needed, but I don't know the full process that happens in regards to that.
Okay, sounds like more info on that is needed. Thanks for that. How are rollbacks handled in the event of issues?
So after the upgrades, so after any upgrades, because we'll be upgrading the secondary server first, any issues that may arise, the primary server will keep running. So there'll be zero downtime for the credit union. What we'll do is we will resync the data from the primary, from the data DR4, and we will bring the machines back in the sync using a video.
Okay, thanks for that. Hopefully that answered it. So next question is, what's the SLA/uptime on the cloud services that are provided in the interaction data center? And what's the failover process should that data center become unavailable?
So the failover process, because we have a VLAN in place, it will automatically fail over between the two sites. So it's a matter of bringing up the app server and the CU Insight server onto the secondary machine, which will be in the DB2. Can you run the question by me again, please, Emma?
Yep, sure. What's the SLA/uptime on the cloud services that are provided in their interaction data center?
So we're looking at 99% uptime for all credit unions. Obviously, there will be some downtime should we need to reboot systems or reboot services, but we're anticipating uptimes above 99%, and the SLAs are within 2 hours to ensure that we are dealing with any issues that are happening there.
Okay, thanks for that. And I think you answered the second part of that first, which was the failover process should the data center become unavailable. So next question is, how is full segregation of credit unions implemented in your system, and how are the effects of noisy neighbours mitigated?
Okay, so we load balance across the servers as well. So we don't just put everybody onto the one box. We look to ensure that we're load balanced across the two servers. Obviously, noisy neighbours, as you're saying, yes, if you've got a very active credit union that using a lot of resource, it potentially could impact. Now, we over-resource these machines to make sure that we can apply the right memory, CPU, and disk to every site. But to make things run more smoothly, we will balance that across the two physical boxes to ensure that that we're not getting that noisy neighbor situation happening. In regards to how do we silo it, so everybody's set up on their own subnet and everybody's set up on their own virtual LAN. So the silos are completely separate and networking is controlled so that there is no cross communication between any of the sites that are there. IPs will be restricted through the firewall so that they can only access the VLANs and the subnets that we give them access to.
Okay, thanks for that. These are great questions. Thanks, Kieran. The last one then is, what additional team/monitoring or services have been put in place to ensure SLAs are met? For example, like your ops or your SOC teams.
So we've increased the number of people within our shared services environment, and we're increasing the number of people within our ITMS team as we bring more credit unions on. This enables us then to monitor proactively what's happening within the data center.
Okay, hopefully that answered those questions, and I've just taken a note about getting more information for Kieran on how updates are tested and verified by the credit unions. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions for Andy. If you want to, feel free to unmute your mic, or equally you can type into the chat bar.
If there are questions, I think most people have my email address. So if you want to email me anything that you've got, anything you want to know, or if you want me to reach out to you and go through in a bit more detail, more than happy to do so. Just give me a shout at any point and I can have a quick chat with you and arrange to answer anything that you might have.
Okay, well, I'll be doing a follow-up after this as well, where we'll just get a bit of feedback on the event. And also, if you are interested in finding out more questions, I can put Andy's email in it just in case you don't have it, or you can register your interest in it and your customer experience manager will reach out to you. But thanks for that, Andy, and thanks for those questions, Kieran.